Story 1. This story is told from the perspective of a female. I am a 32-year-old nurse from Birmingham. I work very odd hours and do not have a fixed schedule. I will very often have to work the entire night, or at least till the early hours of the morning when there are shortages of staff. I am forced to park my car quite a way away from the hospital, in this small little car park. It is not really ideal, but all the parking spaces in the hospital and out on the street are always taken by the time I get to work. On the night of this story, I finished work at 2 a.m. I clocked out and made my usual walk over to the car park. It was a cold night. The streets were empty, not a soul in sight. The walk usually freaks me out a little bit, but not on this night. I remember being quite calm, listening to music on my iPod. My feeling of calmness quickly left me when I arrived at the car park, because I was welcomed with shattered glass all over the floor. I looked around me to see if anyone was hanging around. There was nobody. I felt complete despair when I saw that the shattered glass was from my car. 2 of my windows had been smashed, both the driver and passenger windows. Great, I thought. Alone in a freaky car park at 2 a.m. with smashed car windows and glass everywhere. I was not really sure what to do. It was far too late to call anyone, and even if it wasn't too late, there was no way in hell I was going to wait around in this car park for help to arrive. I decided to do the only thing I could do: drive home. First, I had to smash the broken side windows completely, to make sure no glass would come flying out while I was driving. I saw the head of a stop sign laying on the floor, so I picked it up and used it to smash the rest of the dangling shards of glass. I had just finished smashing all the glass on the driver's side window when I heard something move from behind me. I slowly turned around with the head of the stop sign in my hands, ready to protect myself. There was no one behind me, which was weird because I definitely heard someone move. I then heard something else, a twig snap. It came from a very poorly lit area of the car park. My heart was beating so furiously that I thought I was about to have a heart attack, as a shadow figure came slowly out of the darkness from the corner of the car park. It was a man, a giant of a man, 6'6", slowly and confidently walking towards me. I could hear his smart shoes pounding the concrete as he walked. My biggest fear confirmed. I was not alone in this car park. The man continued walking towards me. I finally got a good look at him. He was a young guy in his mid to late 20s, quite smartly dressed, with a leather jacket on. "Madam, are you okay? I saw you smashing your windows," he said. I was kind of relieved. This guy did not look scary at all. Definitely not your poster boy for horror. I explained the situation. He told me not to panic, and he opened my car door and helped brush glass off of my front seats. I was grateful for his help. Most people wouldn't help a stranger at 2 a.m. in an empty, deserted car park. I thanked the man, and I told him that I wished there was something I could do to help him back, just to be polite. I was quite shocked when he told me there was one thing I could do for him. He told me that he lived about 2 miles away from the car park, and if I could be so kind to give him a lift home. I was grateful for his help, but the last thing I wanted to do was give a stranger a lift home so late at night. He was so sure I would say yes that he even opened my back passenger door and looked like he was about to get in. I told him that I'm so sorry, but I'm still very badly shaken, and I didn't feel comfortable. He seemed to get kind of annoyed. He told me that it would be good if I could return the favor, but I stood my ground and told him no. After trying to get what he wanted for a few minutes, he eventually said, "That is fine, madam. I understand," and smiled at me. He shut my back passenger door and began walking away. I got in and started the car and put it into drive. He walked right by my car, looking back at me to see if I would change my mind. I drove past the man on the way out of the car park, and he had this sick, deranged smile on his face with these crazy eyes. I just stayed focused on driving away. I was already thanking God that I was getting out of there. The next day, I took my car in to the repair shop to get the windows fixed. I left my car there overnight and went back to pick it up the following day. The guy at the shop took me over to my car and showed me the work they had done. My windows were fixed, good as new. I was about to get into my car when the mechanic stopped me. "Wait," he said. "Sorry to ask, but before you came into the shop, what were you doing?" This was a very strange question to be asked. "Nothing," I said. "Why?" He then said, "Well, we found some pretty weird things in your car. Hidden under your back passenger seat, we found a hammer, some rope, and a box of rat poison. These were all things that I had not put in my car and had never seen before in my life. It was all there. It was all hidden in the back seat where the man had tried to sit that night in the car park when he had asked for a lift home. I guess he planted those items there and planned the entire thing from the beginning." Story 2. This story is told from the perspective of a female. This story happened to me a few years ago when I used to work as an exotic dancer. We used to get lots of different types of men come in. Most of my customers were either married or in high-position jobs and didn't want to make too much of a fuss or be seen by anyone else. So there was never too many issues. The odd rowdy aggressive guy at a bachelor party maybe, but that was all you'd ever really see. I had this one client. He used to spend loads of money on dances. He would never say anything. He would just sit there with pretty much no emotion whatsoever and just hand me money. He was around 50, give or take. On one day, out of nowhere, he tried to bite my back. I screamed, and security came in and threw him out. It was the most out-of-nowhere thing ever. He had been coming to watch me for almost a year, and then bang, one day he snaps and tries to bite me. What an absolute psychopath. A few weeks later, I was just finishing my shift. How it used to work is, the company had their own taxis, so you would get picked up outside the club, in the car park, and brought home. I was stood in the car park, waiting for my taxi to arrive. I was texting on my phone. There were not many people around. In fact, I don't think anyone was around. The taxis would always pull up and drive off like clockwork. My taxi pulled up in front of me, and I got in, while looking at my phone. I told the driver where I was going, while I continued texting. After about 5 minutes, I realized something was way off here. This was no taxi. It had no license. It had no ID or anything. The driver was sat diagonally in front of me and had a cap on, covering the majority of his face. It took me a while to understand what was happening to me. And then, to my horror, I realized who it was. It was the customer that had been thrown out weeks earlier. He had pretended to be a taxi and had picked me up in his car. I tried my best to not completely freak out. I smiled and tried to strike up conversation so he would not be able to tell I knew who he was. I asked him to stop at a local chicken shack fast food restaurant. He seemed kind of hesitant, and instead of stopping, he sped up and drove past the chicken place. "Sorry," I said. "I wanted to pick up some food there." He ignored me completely and kept driving. And what was even worse is, he was not driving a familiar route, and he was driving like a maniac. Shortly after this, we got to a red light, and he stopped the car. He put his head in his hands and began crying, like weeping. I could see that he had not locked the doors. I opened the door and ran across traffic and ran into a bar half a block down and phoned the police. The guy got off pretty much scot-free because he told the police that he was off his meds and was not feeling well. He was just ordered to stay away from me. I always double-check when I get into a taxi now. It was pretty stupid of me to get in without checking in the first place. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and a comment because it will help take my channel to the next level, and I love hearing your opinions and feedback. I cannot thank you enough for choosing my content for your scary stories, and I appreciate all of you very much.